them. It's a level of trust. It's an issue of level of trust. And there's a number of data, including Mzalendo Trust, Mr. Speaker, that does all these data-driven research that shows that Senate is actually more trusted as an institution by Kenyans.
Since you've referred to an existence of data,
yes,
according to Senator Mogeni's point of order,
yes,
are you able to substantiate by tabling those data so that
Mr. Speaker, if you give me time, I'll bring you the Mzalendo data and show you just how much Senate is trusted across board in the country in terms of making sober decisions. And actually, I was calling to the conscience of my, because I know I might get a time to speak, and perhaps I need to bring him up. He just got in. I need to bring him back that we are discussing the gambling bill. And I wanted to tell him that as my senior, I was trying to appeal to his consciousness that this bill
very well, Senator Eddie, you will substantiate by the next sitting.
Say, sure, I will do that. But I wanted to appeal to him as one of the senators that this bill around gambling, and especially predicated upon the idea that we are going to make some significant tax revenue from gambling, is indeed a bad bill, in the sense that you cannot predicate the idea of getting tax revenue from gambling when exponentially people will make more money than the taxes that you're getting, but the impact of the vices that you will have in the society. I was giving the senator example that in my own community in Migori, there are a number of cases that have come to me of people going through depression. There are a number of cases that we have seen of people committing suicide after losing their basic assets, as simple asset as women selling goats to go gamble with, as simple asset as young people selling their motorbikes that they have saved over and over time, over 3 years, to purchase a motorbike, then they sell it to go and gamble with it, and then they end up losing everything that they had. The impact is so big that if it's not only for mental health disorders or in places whereby we have got suicidal cases where people have killed themselves actually because of this gambling problem, it also even furthers crime, Mr. Speaker. Because in a situation whereby a young person or even any other member of the society has lost their assets, have lost in this gambling, and even in some cases they have lost their jobs because of this gambling problem, what happens where somebody has got the mental stamina not to commit suicide? If they have lost all their assets, all they had, Mr. Speaker, what remains for them to be able to survive is to go into criminal activities, Mr. Speaker. And we see these vices over and over in the society. So, Mr. Speaker, I know there's temptation to try and regularize this bill to make it look like we're going to have a framework that will make sure that we encapsulate the entire gambling industry into a tax bracket. But I think that this is one of those areas that will dissuade us not to be excited about as a country, as a place to be able to get taxation. Because that taxation is regressive in the one hand, but most importantly, even if you're to collect as much money from it, you can never be able to use the same taxation to deal with the vices, the impact of the vices you have in the society. Where you are competing to be able to build roads, you will now be competing to build roads and to deal with the issue of mental disorder in the society. Where you are competing to build roads or to bring water with the same taxations, you will now even have another problem that you're not only dealing with giving people water, but also dealing with the crime that will come in the society, Mr. Speaker. But I can see that politicians might be excited about this because it is also an avenue for some dubious politicians. I'm not saying any particular politicians, but there are potential for dubious politicians to take advantage of this bill and have mushrooming companies for gambling so that it becomes a conduit for money laundering by the political class and other people who are outside of the political class, Mr. Speaker. This is something that I believe that as a House, we must be bold, we must be courageous, we must remain solid, we must be distinct in our decision as a House, that despite the fact that this bill has gone through a mediated process, this is a bill that we must kill as a House and make sure that we don't give a license to auction the future of our children. We don't give a license, Mr. Speaker, to auction the health care of our children, Mr. Speaker, by making sure that we now enable an avenue for serious mental disorder. And if we must consider as a country and be competitive in terms of looking at gambling legislations, Mr. Speaker, then I would wish this House the courage, because we are the House that is established under Article 96 of the Constitution, that is supposed to protect devolution. Let us then enhance the legislative capability of our counties to be able to handle things like gambling bills, so that it is customized that we only make sure that we don't touch into the unconstitutionality of gambling allowance into the country. But with regards to giving certification and legislation to operate and regulations, Mr. Speaker, why can't we, as a House, pass a bill that will enable counties to be able to determine this as an area for raising resources for specific services? Not all services, Mr. Speaker. Not even as a place for on-source revenue that goes into the baskets of taxation in the counties. Because that would also be tantamount to double taxation, Mr. Speaker. I would wish that we just come up with a legislation that allows counties to be able to look for those specific gambling activities in those counties and specific areas of gambling in those counties and specific taxation that is county level oriented, and it goes to specific services, after which you don't take it to the entire CRF of the county to deal with the entire on-source revenue issue. But as a national law, Mr. Speaker, I can assure you, having looked at the impact of gambling in countries that have made strides, countries that have got both the fortitude, not just the mental fortitude, but social fortitude to be able to deal with the vices of gambling, like the United States, like the countries in Europe, like in China, Mr. Speaker, having looked at the infrastructure that they've put in place to ensure that gambling doesn't collapse their countries, Mr. Speaker, we cannot afford to see this bill pass this House. And Mr. Speaker, I will work very hard, and I know there are some senators here who are very, very, very solid in terms of championing for, being able to whip people around. We will work very hard to make sure that, even I'm seeing Senator Sigais in the House, we will work together to make sure that we mobilize ourselves against this bill, that this House will not allow it to pass in this House, so that we make sure that gambling as a vice does not percolate in our society. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, you will start seeing with, these Gen Zs that we are now seeing not having employment opportunities, Mr. Speaker, they will find themselves that gambling is the only option that they must go to, and they're going into that gambling without money in it. They don't have the money. They will start borrowing from Peter and Tom and John to go and gamble with that money, and then more frustration will come where they have failed. Because the truth also is, out of the people who gamble, Mr. Speaker, not 2% of people who enter any bid end up winning that bid that they have entered, Mr. Speaker. So it means that when you have got a swath of young people who don't have employment, a sort of young people who don't have economic opportunities, a sort of young people who don't have opportunity for income generation, you leave them into trouble, Mr. Speaker, by allowing them to have alternative as only gambling, Mr. Speaker. I strongly oppose this bill, and I hope that my fellow colleagues will join me in making sure that it doesn't pass this House. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Eddy. Senator Crystal Asige, and I do apologize for the fault on your consul. We were not able to see your name.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I appreciate that, and for the opportunity to speak briefly on the mediated version of the Gambling Control Bill. Speaker, first of all, this bill came through our committee, where I sit as the Vice Chair, which is the Labour Committee. And when we were considering this bill before it even went to mediation, Speaker, I, as a member of that committee, opposed a lot of the provisions that are in this bill. And also because the spirit of gambling, for me, Speaker, is not really a legislative endeavor. It, I feel, needs to be thought about more in a philosophical way. Speaker, across the world, you will see that, even this title, I find it to be a bit to be a bit of a juxtaposed kind of a title, because it says gambling control. I don't believe that you can control gambling. And the world over, Speaker, you will see that there are countries who have either allowed gambling to happen or have completely refused for it to happen in their economies. But those who have tried a middle ground, like we are trying right now, have not been able to control gambling, as it implies in this title of the bill. Speaker, I think that we need to remember that prevention is better than cure. And a lot of the time, I have seen in this House, as well as our twin House in the National Assembly, look at problems in our society as something that can be legislated in black and white. But unfortunately, there are a lot of gray areas when it comes to gambling. I like what the previous speaker has said, which is that gambling follows vices. And I believe, Speaker, that that is the case for us here in Kenya. Because if you look at any reports or any pieces of data or research, which I have because I have interacted with this bill before in our committee, you will see that gambling follows quite specific vices in this country. Gambling is always targeted to vices such as abuse of alcohol and drugs. Gambling will target those who have vices around addiction of some kind. Of course, sports, Speaker. It also follows vices such as pornography, which nobody has spoken about here, or I haven't heard anyone speaking about the same. This is what gambling companies will always target, especially those who are online. They will target people who are into entertainment or sports. They will target those who are into drugs and alcohol. They will target those with any kind of addiction, mental health as well has been spoken about here, and they will target those who watch and enjoy porn. Mr. Speaker, there are reports as well that we saw when we were looking into this bill in our Labour Committee, which show that in Kenya, some of the highest usage of the internet lie in those very topics I have just mentioned. It's the top 10. In the top 10 are entertainment, sports, shopping, but in the top 3 is pornography. And Mr. Speaker, if we don't address these issues, the vices themselves, then we will never be able to control gambling. That is my fear, Speaker. And recently, in the last few months in this House, as I said, we keep legislating things that are the symptoms and not the actual core root of an issue. Recently, Speaker, we were trying to legislate around fundraising in churches and the like. And there are members in this House who actually said and opposed that bill because they said, how can you tax or try to regulate fundraising without looking at the reason why Kenyans feel like fundraising is their only hope to get through their problems? When somebody fundraises for a sick relative, we must not regulate the fundraising. We must ask, why does this person feel like the health system has failed them? When somebody is trying to fundraise, for example, for education or taking someone to university, you must not regulate that, but you must ask, why is this person feeling that the education system has failed them, and that's why they have to look into their family and friends and community to raise funds for education? Same principle for me, Speaker, lies here. Why are we trying to regulate gambling and try to put heavy restrictions or legislation on top of this issue, rather than actually dealing with the root cause of why people are privy or prey or run prey to gambling, which is the things that I've mentioned before? I think those are the issues that we need to really sit and think about, not just as legislators, but as thinkers, Mr. Speaker, because that's why we are here. We are apparently the most brilliant minds in the country, and that's why we have been put here to represent our people. And if we cannot sit and think about the root cause of our issues as a country, rather than always treating the symptoms and slapping a piece of legislation on top of it, then we will never, ever control anything. nonetheless gambling, is my opinion, Speaker. And even if we go ahead
Senator Mungatana Cherargei and AD, please consult in low tones so that we can hear Senator Crystal. Proceed.
Thank you for protecting me from the members who are consulting. This is a very emotive subject, and I'm sure that they are busy discussing my submission as I speak. Thank you very much, Speaker. I want to just underscore and re-emphasize that we need to think about the root cause, curing that, or preventing the root cause, rather than thinking about how to cure it with a piece of paper and regulations. Speaker, even as a creative, let me speak from the perspective of a creative. We recently, in the last financial bill of last year that was thwarted by protests across the country, Speaker, there was a provision or a proposal to start taxing creatives, the creative industry. And creatives came out in large numbers to say, how can you tax us or regulate us when you haven't created an environment for us to even thrive in the first place? What are you going to tax out of us? Creatives said. And Speaker, that same idea, I will take it not literally, but there are similarities from that to this, which is, why would you want to tax a base of people who clearly are showing symptoms of issues that we have not solved as society? Rather than solving them, we are punishing them for being unemployed, for being addicted to alcohol or drugs or pornography, whatever the case might be, when we haven't actually sat down as thinkers and the most brilliant minds in the country and looked at the research and actually engaged with evidence-based legislation to then realize that, hey, this may not be the actual, or it may not be a sustainable solution to just write a piece of legislation. We need to actually go down to the base, to the core, to the bottom line, which is, why are our people feeling the need to continue to gamble their lives, their assets, their dreams, their possessions away, instead of looking for honest work, looking to cure their mental illness, looking to address their addictions, looking to stop watching pornography. Mr. Speaker, for me, that is something that is poignant, and I had laid it out very clearly when we looked into this bill in the Labour Committee. It's still the case now, even though there is mediated version, which has not really addressed that same question, which is maybe philosophical, but still has to be answered by somebody. And I would have hoped that this mediated version or this committee would have addressed those kinds of issues rather than slapping us with yet another piece of legislation which may never, ever solve our problem and never bring any kind of control to gambling. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Andrew Omtata.
I'll be very brief and presidential. First of all, this is a bad bill. It is tackling a very, very technical area without any scientific study having preceded it. And that is where the problem is. The root cause of gambling is a misconception that it's a shortcut. It is a shortcut to making wealth. There's a shortcut to creating wealth. And in a country like Kenya now, where there is to make a shilling has become very difficult, you can see the way that this thing has mushroomed across. And maybe we may need to withdraw this bill, have a proper study on what is driving this issue, and then come up with scientific solutions. When I look through this bill, I don't see anything that is scientific about it, and I don't see any solution proffered. Yes, there's need for regulation, but by doing what? There's need for education, but by doing what? There's need for so many interventions, but by doing what? So I think, Mr. Speaker, this bill, though a good idea, but it's not being done well. And as a student of St. Thomas Aquinas, yes, My position is that if something is worth doing, it's worth doing well. This bill is badly done, though we need an intervention in the problems facing us with gambling, but this bill is not the solution. Mr. Senator Mungatana did not support the bill. He recognized that there was a bill, but I didn't say he did not support it. He recognized that there was a bill. And for me, Mr. Speaker, in the absence of a serious study, we are really groping in the dark, and we are likely to make a bad situation worse, thinking that we are doing something to improve it. So I would say that this bill be withdrawn, and a proper study be conducted by the state. Then, from that study, the state can bring us a bill that can address the issues in the industry. Because you have seen even situations like, if you look at all the adverts on gambling, when you look at all the adverts on gambling, they promise quick wealth. Yes. They don't promise anything else. It's not refreshing your mind, it's not a pastime, but you're going to get rich at the end of the day. As they say, leo hustler, kesho sonko, kind of transformations. So I would pray that this bill be withdrawn. Or if it's not withdrawn, we vote it out, and then give that, leave the door open for a better, well-resourced, well-researched, and well-reasoned bill to come before us, one that can then exercise our minds. Really, right now, we are just not well informed to make a decision. And with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, sir, I personally reject the bill. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, there being no other senators wishing to contribute, I call the mover to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to appreciate the following colleagues who have contributed to this bill: Senator Cherargei, Senator Faki, Senator Mungatana, Senator Ledama Olekina, the majority leader of this House, Senator Aaron Cheriot, Senator Eddie Okech, Senator Crystal Asige, and last but not least, the Honorable Senator Okia Omtata. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the mover of this motion, the Honorable Senator Chesang, I would like to echo largely what part of the sentiments by the colleagues who've talked into this bill, to the extent that we are living in a global society, Mr. Speaker, and we will not bury our heads in the sand to say that gambling and betting-related activities do not happen. It might be a tall order to say we will largely manage to regulate the process, but, Mr. Speaker, we must start from somewhere. And where we are is the beginning of that decision to try to regulate and to try to make it at least be something that we can speak about and regulate by making sure that this law passes. This law, Mr. Speaker, is not only about gambling. It's got so many other aspects in it. We are aware that we've got the National Lottery Act of 2023, that this law speaks to it. We've got so many other regulations. And what the amended version of this, or rather mediated version of this law, Mr. Speaker, is trying to achieve is to enhance. Mr. Speaker, could you kindly protect me from...
Senator Cherargei, allow Senator Sigei to make his submissions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that protection.
You're distracting him.
What I wanted to say, Mr. Speaker, is that what we are desiring to do in this mediated version of the bill is to ensure that we strengthen the penalties that are going to be meted upon those who, for instance, participate or be involved in activities gambling without the license. For example, Mr. Speaker, we have in the mediated version of the bill enhance the penalty in form of penalties or fine that one can be imposed to over 3 million Kenya shillings and 5 million Kenya shillings, which is an improvement from what previously existed, because without any fine or any penalty, of course, Mr. Speaker, no one will see any reason to be deterred from conducting activities gambling without the license. Mr. Speaker, earlier on, the Honorable Senator Cherargei, which is what I wanted to inform him, and I'd like to take the opportunity to correct the misrepresentation that the particular timelines within which, not timeline, sorry, but the amount that one can bet on is not 1 shilling. In fact, the committee, Mr. Speaker, enhanced the amount to Kenya shillings 20 as a means of ensuring that whoever participates in gambling must be someone who would obviously be someone of age, because if you reduce it to Kenya shillings 1, every other person, including young children, can access that amount and can gamble with it. And Mr. Speaker, in terms of the timelines that the bill provides for advertisements by the media houses, the watershed moments is, Mr. Speaker, between 10 p.m. in the night and 5 a.m. That serves the purpose that the Honorable Senator Cherargei and the rest of my colleagues who said that we regulate, because if we don't do it, it's still going on, and we are living in a global society, Mr. Speaker, where although we would want to discourage as much as possible our young ones because of mental effects of gambling and also the consequences that comes with it, we cannot run away from the fact that this is a global thing that other regimes have attempted to regulate but have not been able to. This is an opportunity that we've gotten. And although we have not been able to ensure that we get to the right situation which members would have desired in terms of regulation, it is an attempt that going forward we have enacted a law that will give us a platform either to continuously improve that law so that we, at the end of the day, are able to speak to a regulated activity, which in this case will enhance also the support that we are saying, discourage Kenyans, discourage everyone else from undertaking such vices. But for those who have already been put into this, not necessarily residents within Kenya, but those who are outside, but online, and they are Kenyans whom we must also speak to, we are able to support them in a manner that this law is trying to do. We are legislating for posterity, Mr. Speaker. We are not legislating merely because we've got to do it, such that even if we are not supporting gambling, there must be a law in place. And that is exactly what we are saying. Notwithstanding our differences, our challenges with this particular activity, we must have a law in place. And so, even as I reply, I want to urge the honorable members of this House to support it. And for those improvements that we are saying we need to make, it gives us a room to amend the law. And in the process of amending the law, we also go beyond the law itself and create an environment that will help Kenyans, those who are gambling, those who've been addicted, those who've been affected by gambling activities, to also get an opportunity to undertake an understanding of how else can they exit the vice, rather than just saying, we do not want it, we do not want the law, yet the law, or rather gambling in itself, is existing, it's cutting across, and it cannot be ignored. And that is why I want to encourage members to support. And Mr. Speaker, I wish to support, and pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 6263, I request to defer putting of the question to a later date. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Putting of the question has been deferred. Honorable Senators, looking at the order paper, we will have to defer order number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Clerk, call the next order.
Order number 18, the county government's additional allocations. Number 2 bill, Senate Bills number 8 of 2025. Second reading, resumption of debate.
Senator Mungatana, I think you were on the floor of the House when this matter was being debated. You have a remainder of 12 minutes. to continue with your submission.
I think Senator Sige is saying something. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. I want to use this one. Can I be given this? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was on my feet yesterday seconding the bill that had been moved by Honorable, our Chief Whip, Senator Mheshimiwa Boni Khalwale. And Mr. Speaker, I was at the point where I said this bill has 12 clauses. And the last clause talks about criminalization of financial misconduct. And this is criminalization of those officers who are told, Senate has given this schedule, and you are supposed to abide by this schedule so that the counties can get the money on time, and they don't do it, and they don't have any consequences. Mr. Speaker, I was saying, as I second this bill, that it is my hope and sincere hope that in this financial year that we are starting, when these violations are gross, then the responsible officers who delay the funding of counties, Mr. Speaker, who refuse to follow what the Senate has said as far as funding of county timeously is concerned, there will be criminal consequences for them as envisaged in this county government additional allocation bill that we are passing today. Mr. Speaker, those who are listening to me, they must know that in the Senate we provide three main ways in which we fund county government activities. The first one is the equitable fund, the equitable share that comes to them. The second one is the equalization fund that we have passed, and we were debating it here yesterday, and we're waiting to vote on it. And this is the third one, where we pass the county government's additional allocations that are supposed to go to the county government. Mr. Speaker, in these additional allocations, we have two main categories. The first is the unconditional additional allocation. And these ones, the funds that come from the unconditional additional allocations to the counties, they come from revenues that have been collected from the courts and the court fines. When any county passes its laws and there is a contravention of those laws, the counties are supposed to put fines on those people who contravene their laws so that they can generate wealth. This money is collected and is put together, and when we pass here, every county is given its share. So I needed to say this very quickly, that counties that have not developed their own version of city courts, because like here in Nairobi, we have what we call city court. In the city court, when you are found by the county askaris that you haven't paid your licenses and all that, they will take you and fine you there, and you pay so that the county government then creates a source of fund. I'm saying this to all Kenyans and to all county governments. Please develop the court systems in your counties, because there are counties that are not supporting the collection of these revenues. And as a result, Mr. Speaker, you will find very little money coming as collection back to the county revenue fund. Mr. Speaker, the other issue that is under this, that is the unconditional allocation of funds from this bill. This one comes from the 20% revenues of the royalties that have been collected across the country. Mr. Speaker, we want, and I want to use this opportunity to request that all the counties that have minerals and other resources that come from the ground, which can be mined, we are asking the minister in charge of this, the Honorable Hassan Ali Joho, to do what he can within his powers to make sure that these resources are developed. And I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, because in Tana River County, for example, when the minister took over, he said that the gypsum mining in that county is not controlled, and he suspended everything. And Mr. Speaker, what that means is that there's no gypsum mining activities going on. Now, if the minister does not create a framework in which that mining can go on, then it means the royalties that we are expecting to get from this unconditional remittance of funds back to the county will be reduced. So I'm asking through this platform that you create the regulatory framework and help the people of Tana River to get back to that resource exploitation in an organized manner, because it was not very organized at the beginning, and that's why we supported your move to suspend the mining activities. But we want to go back, because this is one of the sources of unconditional transfers of monies back to the county. And Mr. Speaker, there is another problem at the Treasury, which we are asking the minister to also look at. Treasury, for a very long time, keeps on giving excuses when it comes to remittances of these 20% royalties back to counties. You will find that it becomes very difficult, for example, for Taita Taveta County, for Kwale County, even for Tana River County, to access the monies that are supposed to be coming from royalties. Mr. Speaker, even Kilifi County, these are the coastal counties that have mineral resources. And Mr. Speaker, you will find that Treasury continuously creates hurdle after hurdle. Even when we have passed it here in the Senate, and we are saying that the 20% mineral royalty share must come to the counties, they create hurdles and make it difficult for counties. Mr. Speaker, in this financial year 2025-2026, as we pass this law, we want to ask the Treasury, please do the right thing. Stop frustrating counties. When this schedule that we have passed, and it is passed and it becomes law, you should be able to obey it and give the counties what they deserve in terms of their funds. Mr. Speaker, I have said that these government additional allocations, they come through the unconditional, and number two, through the conditional grants that are supposed to come to the counties. Mr. Speaker, the conditional allocations that come to the counties are in two portions. The first portion is the conditional allocations that the national government gives to counties so that the share of the counties from the revenues of the government are accessed to these counties, so that although these monies have been allocated to the national government, they are actually transferred back to the to the county governments. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to urge that we treat this bill with the seriousness that it deserves, and we fast track it. Why I say this is because the national government will not release the monies to the counties that belong to money that was sent for doctors. The arrears of monies payable to doctors through the collective bargaining agreement, those who have not been paid, it is contained in this bill. That's why we need to hurry up and pass it. Mr. Speaker, the conditional allocation for the community health promoters, the CHPs, is also contained in this bill. So that, Mr. Speaker, the monies that the national government, the portion, the share that the national government is supposed to give is also contained in this bill. Mr. Speaker, the conditional allocation for the construction of county headquarters, which include county headquarters like Tana River, Nyandarua, Lamu, and the other two, are contained in this bill. So the national government, through this bill, after we pass it, will be now in a position to transfer these funds to the relevant county government. And these amounts are contained in Schedule 2 of this bill. Mr. Speaker, the conditional allocations to the county aggregated and industrial park program that is set out in column D is also contained in these funds, in this bill. Mr. Speaker, you will remember that the president, during his campaigns, he had said that every county must have an industrial park, and each industrial park will be sponsored partly by the government, national government share, and there will be also a share by the county governments. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, there are counties that have not been able to do their industrial parks. And the reason is that these funds have not been released to them. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm urging honorable members and colleagues here that we do what we can to vote this bill as fast as we can, so that these funds, these conditional grants from the national government, especially to counties like ourselves, where we are supposed to get the headquarters, and other counties, that these monies will be fast-tracked, the national government will be able to release these funds, and they will be able to be utilized by county governments. Mr. Speaker, as I take my seat, I urge colleagues that when it comes to these funds, our county governments are waiting for them. We should do everything possible to pass this as we put a caution on our governors across the country.
Thank you. Your time is up, Senator.